Boom shakalaka, sui namaskar, namaste. That means I bow to the sun and the divinity that is manifest within each and every single one of you. Ooh! Ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, be sure to like this video, subscribe, click on the bell, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your momos, drop us the comments, and let us know what it is. It is your boy, Chris Shule, a.k.a. the Esoteric Noetic, a.k.a. the Vegan Prince, Warrior King, coming at you here in Melbourne, Australia. Vegan Prince, Warrior King is the title of my latest book. First book. It's out on Amazon. Be sure to go check it out. It's a book that is essentially about being a warrior to all the earthlings. Not just a warrior for yourself, because I think it's very important to become a warrior. As you grow, as you become a stronger person, the world changes around you. As Mahatma Gandhi said, you change the world by changing yourself. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace. Live for the principles that you hold. Being a warrior is not just about being a warrior to yourself, though. It's about being a warrior for everyone. So first change yourself, but then also actively try to defend the innocent. And I speak about tyranny within the book, essentially overcoming the tyranny that we face in this world, but specifically the tyranny in relation to the animals that we share this planet with. So essentially adopting a plant-based diet. But the book is a lot more than just a plant-based diet. It really is about navigating yourself through the pitfalls of tyranny, regardless of how it manifests itself. And I wanted to read one of the chapters within the book and just give you a synopsis of what it's about. And look forward to hearing your comments. Be sure to like, share this video, and make sure you review this book rather. Give it a 5-star, or you can give it a 1-star. Any kind of rating would be fantastic. But let's get into it. So I'm going to read the first chapter to you. First chapter is called Agape. There is no greater or more beneficent force in the universe than that of pure, unselfish love. Agape is a love that has no boundaries between race, animals, sex, creed, and recognizes the animating force of God working through all beings. So I'm speaking about a specific kind of love, because we all have these different words that we use for love, and often we don't have the same understanding when we use the word love. Plato defined the different kinds of love. He made reference to a specific kind of love known as agape, and speaks about how whereas you have romantic love, which is what most people associate with love, it's this kind of love in terms of I love you in terms of what you can do for me, how you make me feel. I have this feeling of romance towards you. I love you. You're the most important thing to me, but I want to have you. I don't want anyone else being with you, that kind of love, which is typically what we see within the Western form of romantic love. It's more of a possessive kind of love. It's not to say that it's not beautiful in certain regards, but it also can be very painful when your love is not returned by that person. It leads to unrequited love, right? Which is obviously not a beautiful thing. But that is a very specific kind of love. But agape, beautiful word, agape, it makes reference to this universal kind of love that we all have, we all share, at least we should share, towards all beings, because we recognize the spark of God. Call it what you will, God, Krishna, Buddha, Allah, unifying field, that which connects us. We recognize that within every being. And it's the kind of love that a mother, in a sense, has for their child. They don't want anything in return, but they simply take joy in watching that child flourish. And it's something that Martin Luther King would speak about in his activism for freedom, rights of black people, white people, everyone. And he would essentially speak about casting a wider net of love towards all beings. That this journey, this mission was not about one group per se. It's not about black supremacy. It's not about white supremacy. Martin Luther King would often say, black supremacy is just as bad as white supremacy. Something along those lines. But it's essentially recognizing that regardless of what minority group that you were in, regardless of what connection you have towards certain groups. Fundamentally, we are all living under the same skies, and we are trying to, at least we should be trying to uplift the vibration of the planet by casting a wider net, not just towards our friends or family, but essentially towards the community, towards the nation, towards the planet, towards the entire universe. This is a universality of love. So that is essentially what I speak about within the concept of agape. It is the divine spark within oneself reflecting back from the gaze of another. In Sanskrit, this is represented within the phrase namaste. I bow to the divinity manifest within you. With this feeling of reverence emerges the capacity for agape. So essentially what I'm saying here is that when you realize that essentially that same spark that is within you is within everyone else, you realize that you're connected to them. And it's frustrating at times because we see people as being so different to us. But if you can have a transcendental approach towards love, realizing that it's not about the distinctions, that there is a connection that you have, it makes it more easy to show love towards someone. See, this is the problem I find with any form of discrimination. People are inclined to see someone as being different. People want to outline the distinctions in their physical appearance. Oh, you're white, I'm black, or yellow, or pink, or blue. People want to talk about how, oh, you have bigger lips than I do, therefore you're different. But you realize that these are such aesthetic differences that the most important thing is that we are connected by spirit. And once you recognize that, it makes it more difficult to have this feeling of animosity towards someone because you see them as an extension of yourself. And it's something that I strive to do. I'm not perfect, ladies and gentlemen. You know, sometimes I'm around people, I'm like, oh, get the fuck away from me, you crazy Mo with your crazy ideas and whatnot. You're nothing like me. But you realize that fundamentally people have their own journey. People are battling their own demons. And it's important to strive towards this attitude of agape if we are truly going to liberate ourselves from the shackles of enslavement. It is a well understood truth from the ancient mysteries that we are all intrinsically interwoven, and as one suffers, we all suffer. This is one of the most golden esoteric truths, that as one suffers, we all suffer. Throughout the ages, we have collectively lost sight of this truth, warring on each other based on trivial distinctions fueled by greed, jealousy, power, and above all, fear. Life's journey is one of constant struggle filled with tribulations and adversity. And this is true. Life, regardless of what time, what generation you're born in, is full of struggles and challenges. And it's very easy to get caught up in your own struggles, these challenges. But the most important battle is to realize that whereas you have these challenges, we all have these challenges. And fundamentally, when you, as I said earlier, cast a wider net of compassion, realize that you were in this together, that's when you start to overcome the tribulations of this world. So I go on to say, what mother would not sacrifice without a moment's hesitation hundreds and thousands of lives for that of the child of her heart? What lover or true husband would not break the happiness of every other man and woman around him to satisfy the desire of one whom he loves? Is that real love, though? Or perhaps just a cleverly disguised form of selfishness? So essentially, I'm speaking about how within our struggles, we bond with certain groups, certain communities. And the danger of that is specifically, let's say when you have love towards one particular person and you only care about them, let's say the kind of love that a mother has for their child, there's nothing wrong with that love in of itself. It's a pure, beautiful expression of love. However, when you're willing to sacrifice everything else around you, everyone else around you, because you care more for that child of your heart, and you're willing to do horrible things to protect that child, that's when that love, that feeling you have, which is coming from love, can corrupt you, and it can manifest itself as violence. Because it's a very common thing we see when people are willing to sacrifice the lives of others because they don't care, they don't love other people as much as they love their child, their race, their sex, and so forth. And this is how we see the warring factions going on in the world. It's like, yeah, I love everyone, but I love my family just more. And it's one thing to have preferences. We all have preferences, and we all have biases in terms of people we love. But when you start harming those that are not as close to you in order to protect those that you love more dearly, that's when we get this perversion. And the whole concept of agape is to realize that we are all part of this experience. And as soon as you move into this world of I care more about one person and I'm willing to hurt other people to protect that person I love, that's when you see the perversion of love. So that's what I'm referring to when I speak about this scenario. Selfish love, as implied within the term, is self-serving, conditional, and a projection of one's desires. It is often used to describe something that gives one pleasure, e.g., I love ice cream. What does that mean? It means that, and listen to this, what does it mean when you say I love ice cream? It means that the sensation you get from eating ice cream gives you a great deal of pleasure. More often than when people speak about love, they are speaking about what it makes them feel. What do I get from this? I love you because of the way that you make me feel. You make me feel good. You give me warm tingles. I love this feeling. But I don't care so much about you per se, or I will do things for you only as long as you show love towards me. All right, that's a very conditional form of love. And it's not to say there's something inherently wrong with that, but it does become a problem when you are only concerned with someone because of what you get from them. That's not something that I would call real love. The same applies to relationships. When most people say they love someone, it generally implies that they gain pleasure from them. Selfish love is usually conditional, e.g., I love you as long as you please me, or I love you as long as you don't love anyone else. Experiencing this love is not truly of a caring, giving, selfless, self-sacrificing nature like that of what a good mother has for her child. There may be an element of that kind of love involved, but it is strongly overshadowed by the self-centered, selfish kind of love. Agape, popularized by Plato and commonly used by Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement, is a transcendental love. It involves casting a wider net of love, encompassing all of God's creations, not because you see that love returning, but because of an inner yearning to nourish the love that is manifest within all beings. Wow, that was some deep shit. Did I write that? Well, yes, I did, because I am the vegan prince, warrior king. All right, so just to finish off, in our struggle for growth, peace, love, and freedom, we often struggle the most for the survival of our individuality and immediate family as we grow and journey on the spiritual path. It is incumbent upon us to expand our love towards not only ourselves and our family, but our community and all the earthlings we share this planet with. For as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, this is some powerful shit. Check this out. The difference between the attitudes of the angels in heaven versus those of earth is that on earth we are all attempting to feed ourselves with long spoons, which cannot reach our mouths. In heaven, the angels are using their spoons to feed each other. So this is basically this idea. It was spoken about in the Bhagavad Gita, but it's a popularized concept in a lot of philosophy, that the distinction between what goes on in heaven and hell is that when we are working individually, only looking out for ourselves, we're trying to do things for ourselves that we can't necessarily do for ourselves. Like imagine trying to feed yourself with a long spoon, right? Let's say like a 10-inch spoon, something as big as my cock. No, I mean something as big as a pole, like an incredibly long pole, right? Let's say 10 meters. It's almost impossible to feed yourself. It isn't impossible unless you're some kind of gigantic being, right? However, if you were having someone else feed you with that long pole, it works. And this is the situation as to what is going on in heaven. So it's a beautiful metaphor. Essentially, if we're all working collectively, respecting each other and respecting ourselves, however, striving to help each other, it goes a long way. And there are certain things that we can't do for ourselves. It's nice to think that you can do everything for yourself. So I don't need nobody. I'll do what I want. I'll do anything I want for myself. But human beings are social beings in that they flourish It's not to say that you cannot survive, but you thrive, you flourish when you have social networks, when you have people that care about you, families, communities. That's how we grow. We are hives. It's important to realize that there is an element of individuality and collectiveness within the human being. And once we find the synthesis between these, respecting both our own personal needs and our need to essentially pursue our passions, our goals, to live these lives of eudaimonia, as Aristotle put it, live for your personal flourishing, but also to live for the collective benefit of the society. That's when we move towards a truly beneficent society. So expressing love not out of duty or expectation, but because of an intrinsic pure desire is the fundamental basis of agape. So expressing love out of an intrinsic pure desire. When I use the word intrinsic, I'm speaking about the inherent nature of that thing. Because it's one thing to say I love someone because of them being able to give me lots of money, right? I love, like a lot of people say, oh, I love that person because of how they make them feel in terms of what they can do for them. But when your love towards them is tied to the most intrinsic quality, which is the spark of God animating through them, you recognize this. This is the most intrinsic. The more intrinsic your love is, the purer it is. Agape being the purest form of love because it's this recognition that we are all connected to this universal field. In the Force, in the Star Wars trilogy, they refer to it as the Force. It is a metaphor for spirituality, realizing that ultimately we are all encompassed within this field of energy. And we have been separated to not recognize that we are all part of this collective field of energy. And thus we start warring on each other. You know, how crazy would it be if my hand started warring on my face? Kind of hurt. That's kind of weird. It's obviously ridiculous, right? But that's what happens when your hands don't realize that your face is a part of the body, right? And that's essentially what's going on. It's a metaphor for the planet. It seems ridiculous, but you have a look at this planet. This planet is essentially a system that has all of these white blood cells, many of the organisms within it that are working together in order to keep it alive. Now, some of the organisms, not being able to see the collective nature of things, think that they are at war with each other. But the reality is that they are all playing a fundamental role in the continuation of the planet Earth. And you can take this down to every level. Take this down to the level of the organism, the human being an organism within the planet Earth. We're made up of many cells, trillions of cells for that matter. And each cell, when it's working collectively, it serves the whole. But if these cells were to war on each other, not realizing that they are essentially working symbiotically in order to bring about a healthy being, that's when you get problems. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first chapter of Vegan Prince, Warrior King. If you want to read the other, how many chapters are there? I can't remember how many chapters I had here. I think I had like 12 or so chapters. Yeah, so I got 12 chapters, ladies and gentlemen. It's a short read, but it is full of beautiful wisdomatic truth bombs. I speak about the health, the history in regards to the vegetarian, plant-based, vegan diet, call it what you will. I use the phrases interchangeably because fundamentally this thing has its origins in all of the ancient world. A lot of people think that this thing is a new thing. You cannot learn about the ancient wisdom traditions. You cannot learn about the mystery schools without coming onto this scene. Because going back as early as Pythagoras, the first universal genius over a couple thousand years ago, a huge part of the Pythagorean school was the Pythagorean diet, which was essentially a plant-based diet. I go to this in the book. It is a tradition of the ancient world. Within the Vedic tradition, Jainism, dating back 9,000 years old, which is a huge influence on the Vedic tradition that we have in India. This essentially came about through the Tirthankara priests. These are priests that essentially had this warrior-like mentality. They were warrior priests, but essentially as they became more meditative and they put aside their weapons, they adopted this attitude of ahimsa, which is what we refer to as nonviolence, which is the theme within the East that is synonymous with the plant-based diet. So a lot of people tend to separate this. They separate what they eat from actual physical violence because, they're very different things. I mean, people will obviously eat whatever they want, but when you connect this, when you realize that fundamentally by, let's say, not necessarily eating something, because there's nothing wrong with eating something, but if you were, let's say, going out to support an industry or supporting a practice that involves harm, that is himsa. In a sense, it is essentially partaking in violence. You're benefiting from something that you've actively gone out to participate in something that has come about through himsa. So fundamentally, the plant-based diet is a diet of ahimsa. But essentially, ladies and gentlemen, this book covers many of the different areas around being a warrior. I speak about the psychology of being a warrior, navigating the relationships with your friends and family, which can be very difficult anytime you want to do something that is confronting the status quo, the moral certitudes. I don't really focus much on the health per se because, granted, we're still having this, at least some people are having this debate in regards to whether or not it's beneficial and so forth. Every person that is able to see beyond the mainstream narrative realizes that you don't need to eat animals, obviously, to be healthy. So I focus more on the history and the ethics pertaining to this issue. So as for myself, look, it's a diet that I've adopted from a young age. From the age of 6, I was very influenced by a movie called Benji. I realized I had a tremendous affinity towards animals, and my dad was a huge influence on me. But around the age of 6, I adopted this plant-based lifestyle. And look, a lot of people say X and Y in regards to the health benefits, but look, as my guns here are proof, I am very healthy. I competed in athletics throughout most of my life. I was the penultimate state champion in long jump, competed in the nationals in triple jump, won the pentathlon almost every single year. I bench press 160 kilograms. I do about 1,000 push-ups a day. And I'm telling you all this stuff, not that you need to know this, not because I'm just flexing. Actually, I am flexing a little. But it's just abundantly clear that you don't need to partake in animal-based foods in order to be healthy and strong, which is the narrative that is pushed by a lot of people. But fundamentally, ladies and gentlemen, I really wanted to make this book because a huge part of what I do is speaking about being a warrior, essentially standing against injustice. And there's a lot of tyranny that is going on in this world. And I think the best way to bring about an efflorescence of consciousness to actually grow is to plant yourself like a tree. Because like a tree or like a flower, we grow when we are planted, when we are amongst fertile soil. We ground ourselves. Our roots grow into the ground when we have a strong basis, strong principles for how to live our lives. And when we are nourished with this attitude, that's when you see this efflorescence, this growth of consciousness, and we are able to make a positive change in the world. Because regardless of what you do in this world, unless, of course, you were acting from a place of agape, you'll find that there'll always be an aspect of you that is feeling disconnected. I always like to say, move in passion, rest in reason. Make sure that you are moving from a place of passion, agape. Have a synthesis between your heart and your head. Realize that fundamentally we all have our goals. We should all strive to achieve things, but always be working from a place of love. Ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, be sure to like this video, subscribe, click on the bell, tell your friends, tell your mom, drop us the comments, let us know what it is. Be sure to rate and review my book, Vegan Prince, Warrior King. You can find this on Amazon, Kindle, you know the drill. I am thinking of releasing a hard copy version. The hard copy version isn't out yet, but depending on how many people enjoy the ebook, which is going to be shown by all the likes here. Come on, give us some likes, and how many people give me some good reviews, I might release a hard copy. Until next time, remember there are 3 things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the wisdomatic truth bombs of yours truly, Chris Shule, the chocolate Nubian soul brother, aka the vegan prince, warrior king.
Like this notion of liberty, for example. What is liberty?
And I think that concept of the will is very important.
What the? Who says you can't build muscle on a vegan diet? What's it like being a hottie in the vegan community?
Bitcoin will not work as digital gold.
Engineering, technology, these arts of humanity, they are magic.
Everyone deserves the same chance, the same treatment, the same respect.
History's littered with war. History's littered with body scar, trying to settle the score and maintain an archaic